Swear to God, this review has taken me 3 times to get right. Hi there, I'm Jake. Welcome to Rush Reviews. Thanks for joining me. This is Taken 3. This is about with sunglasses. Let's review Taken 3, shall we? Swear to God, I need to stop fucking rhyming. Nah, cut this. I can't actually review Taken 3 on its own because that would be reviewing it at the bottom, the abyss. So, just like a slide into dementia, let's take a look at a slide into abyss by looking at all 3 of the Taken movies. Basically, starting from when you're really good in health to when you're fucked. Okay, let's start off with the best one, Taken. So, hello cat. My cat's going to be joining me for this one because he likes Taken as well. He likes Liam Neeson being awesome. So Taken's a double B movie, brilliantly brutal. It starts off though, it's got a hopeless tone. Bye cat. It starts off with Liam Neeson playing Brian Mills, and he wants to connect with his daughter, but his daughter's at that age where she doesn't want to connect with him. She's more interested in materialistic things and pop stars and all that other bullshit. She has a stepdad that's rich. He's fucked. He's hopeless. His idea of being a good father really doesn't... What are you doing? Sorry. What are you doing? Yeah? Say hello. This is Leo. Leo was going to join me for this review but decided not to because he wanted to scratch things. Anyway, speaking of hopelessness, Leo, Brian Mills wants to connect with his daughter. He can't because she doesn't want to until she wants to use him. She wants to go to France and therefore needs the father's permission. She goes to France. She gets taken. Good guess. Now, this just continues on the theme of hopelessness. Brian Mills is told by his ex-agent friends, which is something that's brought up in the movie, that he has 72 hours to find her. Not a short amount of time, and he has a particular set of skills that he needs to use. Now again though, although he has these skills, we see it being hopeless. Now the good part about the movie as well is the daughter actually gets taken out of the movie for a good part of it. After she gets taken, she's slid into obscurity, we don't know where she is, and the whole movie is basically a point by point of Brian Mills discovering what could happen to his daughter. Her friend is OD'd and dead. We see that in a good scene. And even scenes where he has the bad guys on the ropes, you know, the scene where he's in the safe house and, you know, there's a bad guy there and he's like, I told you I'd find you. It's not a kind of, I told you I'd find you, no, it's more of a, I told you I'd fucking find you. And now I'm going to fucking kill you. Because guess what? He tortures him. And that's the part of this movie. It deserves its 18 rating. It has torture. It has, you know, prostitution, forced prostitution. It has ODing girls in it. So the movie itself is a pretty brutal movie. But that's what reality is. Reality is brutal. It's not entirely a nice place. I've done a few videos on that. So yeah, I mean, I like this movie continuously. And then we have the ending. You know, this guy's so focused, we have the ending. And a lot of people had issue with the ending because, you know, there's a guy with a knife to his daughter's throat and he just goes, poof, puts a bullet in the guy's head. So many people are like, oh, what if he shot his daughter? This guy is focused. He went through France to find the one person it was looking for. He'd done it. Do you honestly think he's going to fuck up the last shot? Of course not. So then we have the ending to this movie where it deserves its good ending. It deserves to have the daughter happy. That to me that's a good movie. It's an action movie, so there's more heart in it than we deserved. There's more heart in it than I thought there was going to be. It's a good movie. So there we have it. They closed the book. That is us. You don't need another one, do you? Oh, fuck. Just like the Book of Evil from The Evil Dead, you open the book up, you're going to have problems. Taken 2 continues on the story, even though it's not supposed to. However, I will give it props. It continues on in the more realistic terms. For the place that these people in the first one were in, you could clearly tell that there was a little bit of aggression towards people in it. So we have the father basically just trying to get revenge for his kid's death. Kind of like Brian Mills tried to get revenge for his daughter getting taken. We have that same kind of parallel, that's not bad. I mean, if you're going to continue on, forcibly, why not do it in this way? However, we are the Star Wars prequel generation. We know that continuing on a franchise kind of forcibly might not be the best idea. See The Phantom Menace, another Liam Neeson masterpiece. So yeah, we have the continuation of this movie. However, it shouldn't be called Taken, it should be called Kidnapped, because at no point in this movie is Brian Mills or Liam Neeson's character ever out of control. Whereas in the first one, we have that sense of hopelessness. This one, he has his family back. He has his daughter, he has his wife. His ex-wife is even back in the picture. There's a little bit of connection there. So that theme of hopelessness that drove the first one is no longer there. And Brian and his wife gets taken in a kind of weird way. The chase scene in that is pretty clunkily done. It should be noted as well that there's actually a lot of more mistakes in this movie. A lot of kind of, when like a back window gets shot, then in the next scene you can clearly see the glass in there. There's a lot more of them, but that seems to happen with movies that probably shouldn't have been done. There's a lot more mistakes involved in them because maybe the director's like, screw it, it's got the Taken name, people are going to see it anyway. And yes, it's not an 18, it's a more diluted movie, so the action scenes are a little bit cheaper, and we can tell that. Hello, little man. So in that sense, again, the movie itself just feels cheap, but that looks like a pretty cool that looks like a pretty cool poster. It has that black and white noir style. It's got Liam Neeson standing alone. That poster says to me, okay, part 2, the second ride. But no, it's not. And the thing about the movie as well is it fails because whereas the first one focused on Liam Neeson trying to find his daughter through all these obstacles, this one changes it. This one actually skids off. So the direction of the movie, the focus of the movie fucks off. Because for 30% of this movie, you're with his daughter. You're with a girl who was serviceable in the first one but wasn't in most of the movie, which was probably made it a better movie because she's a bit whiny. Continues on in this movie. It's just her, freaking out and all that kind of stuff. And yes, there's a scene where he tells her to throw a grenade out a window. So in that sense, the movie doesn't have that connection because it doesn't have Brian Mills kicking ass. Because that's what you want from an action movie. You don't want someone cowering in the corner being your main focus. But the movie somehow realises this because back in, after this 30% where we see her, Brian Mills comes back in. So it just reiterates he's not being taken because he still has that control. He's still able to escape and there's no real consequences because his wife ends up fine anyway. Granted though, I will say this for the movie. The bad guy in the movie is probably the more memorable bad guy. Maybe it's just because he's been in a lot more. See, this is the bad guy here, and he's actually pretty awesome. He's been in a few things that have been pretty cool, but you can tell that this guy's kind of just having a bit of fun with the movie, which to me is fine. And do you know what? The one thing I will give the sequel is, although it's diluted and whatever else, it does do the ending serviceable because you get the bad guy saying, like, I have more sons, and Brian Mills like, and I'll be ready for them, or I'll kill them too. And then he kills the bad guy, and you're thinking, hey, that's not too bad. And Leo, move your ass, thank you. So, although Taken 2 is a pretty bad movie and it fails in itself, if you're going to skid off your direction and plough the car into a tree, you know what? If you can roll that car back to the driveway, congratulations, but the car's broken. You can't fix it. That's it, done. It's split in half. It doesn't work. Yes, it got you to your destination, but it didn't do it comfortably and it was pretty failed. But it does set up for a third one because in the second one, they even address the fact that this guy has more sons. Now, in Taken 3, they could have done something. They could have went back to the roots. Imagine these kids, this guy's kids, maybe 2 or 3 of them coming back and they were like, yeah, screw it, this Brian Mills guy is a pain in the arse, just like my cat. And they come from all walks of life, someone could come from Dubai, someone could come from England, obviously the same family, and they pretty much just try and get revenge on Brian Mills. Hey you, what's up? So, and they should have went back to an 18, and in Taken 3, like the Scream trilogy, all bets are off, and it would have been acceptable to see a wee bit of deaths, like his wife dying. Yeah, spoiler alert. But of course, they didn't do that.
You know I'm not one to break promises.
So why the hell did you break this promise? Taken 3 is a 12. That in itself must tell you that it's completely diluted. Also, let me just bring this up. Look at that poster. What is that? The first two posters were just Brian Mills on his own. It was a kind of noir style. And this one, he's standing in front of a clearly CGI fake city, and there's things all over him. Taken in itself should be a hopelessly themed movie about Brian Mills going at it on his own, and that should be it. Taken 3 totally ignores Taken 2, and it literally just it starts off with another story. His ex-wife is now going out with some guy who's actually a Scottish guy, but he's putting on a terrible American accent. It brings in a fourth story involving Russian mobsters, and the Russian mob guy is a cartoon character at best. He's terrible. He's not threatening. The end fight lasts about maybe 5 minutes, not even. It's a terribly done movie. It tries to go for this twist ending, but you see it coming because the guy playing, his ex-wife's new husband, plays a bad guy in most things. If you've seen Death Race Inferno, that thing, well, he's a bad guy, and he's been a bad guy in most other things anyway. And yeah, doesn't do a good job here. So apart from the fact that Taken 3 ignoring every single part of the Taken 1 and Taken 2, it's a more diluted movie as well. The action scenes in it are not brutal. Liam Neeson just really doesn't seem to give a fuck in this movie. The action scenes don't have that ferocity that they did. Like, there's no motivation for Liam Neeson to really be hitting these guys. I mean, yeah, his wife dies, but we don't really get much of a reaction from him. That's just poor directing and poor acting. But the movie's not set out to do that. It's just set out to be a cheap action movie. And that's the thing, it is cheap. There's a scene where he drives a car down an elevator shaft and he survives. Don't know how that happens. The movie doesn't explain it. Because it doesn't care, doesn't want to explain it. We also have a scene where he's in a traffic accident and the car drives down the road. It falls down a cliff and he survives that as well. The movie doesn't explain that to us because the director didn't want to explain that to us, because he doesn't fucking need to explain that to us. And even that, like I said, in Taken 2, there's a lot more kind of mistakes in the movie. Well, in this one, there's blatant mistakes in the movie. In the scene, there was a car in the car accident. We then cut to another shot, and the front of the car's totally fine, whereas in the last shot, that front of the car was damaged. But they don't care. Taken 3 took all the heart and soul and, all the motivation out of the first one. It took the cool bad guy from the second one and just shoved it away and just said, here's Taken 3. There you go. Let's make as much money out of this motherfucker as we can. It's pretty much a Die Hard, but it's, it didn't take place over like 20 years. At least we had Die Hard 1, 2 and 3. Had a pretty awesome trilogy. Granted, Die Hard 2 wasn't too great, but Taken 3 is horrible. I actually urge people not to see this movie, because if people see this movie, then Hollywood are going to think, we can dilute movies and people are going to go see it. You put the name Taken and automatically people are going to be like, yeah, okay, let's go see it. You as a person, as a producer, as a director, should know what you're getting into. You know what I mean? For someone that's taken a good franchise like Die Hard, like Taken, something that started off so well, great intentions, amazing movie, brilliantly brutal. Why would you then decide to just go ruin all that? It makes no sense. Oh yeah, money. But that's the thing, what's the point in making money when your fans hate it? Taken 3, this is a horrible movie. His wife dies, but we don't really care why. In fact, they don't actually have the reason isn't good enough. Considering Taken 1 and Taken 2, they set up this whole thing with this other family that clearly wants revenge. And they could have done that in Taken 3. And do you know what? Even if they diluted Taken 3, but they put this family back into it, the guy's kids decided to come for revenge, I would probably have enjoyed it a little bit more, because at least it would have been a connected trilogy. But it wasn't, and it was a terrible, terrible movie. So I urge just leave Taken alone. Liam Neeson, don't do a fourth movie if they ask you to do it. Just leave it now. It's dead. And if you're going to make another movie, you know, you're just going to be kicking a dead horse. But then again, you know, stop kicking that dead horse when it stops spitting out money, I guess. Right, well, this has been a pretty fucking disappointing end to a franchise, hopefully. The one thing I will say, if it is the end, then thank fuck for that. Taken 3 is terrible. They really are taking the piss with this movie. So I look forward to Die Hard 6, you know, more disappointment. Fuck Taken and fuck Hollywood.